Thanks for tuning in to PI Perspectives. This week, Matt welcomes Michael Morelli from Powerhouse Investigations. Michael has a unique approach to open source research. He shares with us some great pointers and some great free search tools. We also touch on jury research and how to offer this service to your clients. This episode is brought to you by CROSStrax case management software. CROSStrax integrates with programs you already use like QuickBooks, DelvePoint, Scope Now, Investigation Video Editor, Word, and more. The integrations combined with powerful features such as automated audio transcription and report generation help investigators generate revenue and improve efficiency. This system can be customized for any investigative specialty. Start your free trial today at CROSStrax.co and use promo code PIP20. This episode is also brought to you by Investigators Toolbox. The industry's premier digital forum and learning community launches June 1st. Welcome to the future of investigation networking. Learn more at investigators-toolbox.com. Now let's check in with the guys and chat about open source research. Please welcome Michael Morelli and our host, private investigator Matt Spare.
And welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. So we are back on our regular track of episodes here. And today we've got Michael Morelli from Powerhouse Investigations out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I had heard Michael on Francie Kohler's PIs Declassified a couple months ago, and I thought it was really interesting. He approaches open source investigations a little bit differently. Michael's actually written for PI Magazine as well. Michael, I want to welcome you to the program. How are you doing today?
Matthew, I'm doing great. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you today and your friends that are listening.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. And today's date in the real world is April 13th, 2020, as we're recording this episode. COVID-19, what's it look like in Oklahoma? How are you making out over there?
It's okay. You know, Tulsans are very flexible people, and we're doing okay. Mostly people are staying in their homes and kind of abiding by what the governor wants. And like everybody else, we're all wanting to get through this thing as quick as possible and get life back to normal. That's the hope and prayer for everybody.
Sure. So what does your business clientele look like? Who are you typically servicing?
So, Matthew, my clients are mainly attorneys and insurance companies and other private investigators. So I do a lot of expert social media investigations for PIs across the country, California, all the way over to the East Coast in New York and in between. And then we do specialized juror reports for attorneys who are doing their due diligence on their juries to try to select the right jurors so they get the verdict that they want. So, but yeah, mainly my clients are attorneys, PIs, and insurance companies.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that juror research stuff before we finish up today. I've got a little bit of experience doing that, and I know you've got some experience too. So definitely it's something I want to talk about. So your company is Powerhouse Investigations. How long have you been in business?
So I started around 2004. Matthew, I worked for Cullen Investigations here in Oklahoma. Eric, he's a dear friend, and he helped me get started. I worked for him for over a year. He kind of trained me and, helped me get my sea legs, as it were. And then I was able to go out on my own, and I've been building the business since about 2014.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's really important for investigators in this environment, especially, to identify those mentors and people that will speak into our lives and point us in the right direction as far as running our business, growing our business. It's so important. And even though we can't go to conferences these days, we can't press the flesh and say hello or sit down and have a meal together with somebody. I think it's really important to be able to identify people in this industry that have been doing things for a while and leaning into them.
I wholeheartly agree, Matthew. I from time to time reach out to other people to try to make connections, and some people, they love doing that. Others are that's not their thing. Right. But for me, I get emails from PIs around the country sometimes, and I'll do gratis work. If it's something simple, maybe takes me 15 minutes, hey, can you search this email, or can you teach me how to do this? Or, for example, we have some resources on our website Like, for example, somebody goes to powerhouseinvestigations.com/email. There's a list of some of the email tools that we use. And I like to make things available to the PI community because we all need mentors and we're all learning. And that's one of the things I like about our industry. And then meeting people like you is awesome because, we all know different things and we can share and everybody wins. Right. That's the bottom line. We want to have success. We want to get results for our clients and for ourselves.
Yeah, I stole a phrase from Jim Nanos a long time ago, and I say it all the time. Jim from PI Magazine. Sometimes it's better to know the guy than be the guy, right? So, I can do my own social media research. I like to think I'm pretty good with it, but at the end of the day, I don't really have the time to do it. Nor do my field investigators. They can do a cursory job. They're pretty good too at what they do, and we do our continuing education, and I'm always looking to get them to do what they need to do. But to me, somebody who specializes in doing that type of research on these heavier cases or things that are really important, knowing when to bring in that expert. And Michael, what I love about your business is that you understand that you're servicing the investigative community and you leave room for us to have a margin, which, everybody's got to eat off if it's,
you bet. The pie has to be for everybody's got to eat from the pie. And no, I agree with you. I like doing that. I mean, again, it's a way for me to help other people, and I can do expert work for them, charge them a lower fee than I normally would charge an attorney that would hire me or my own caseload. And then I'm able to produce something. And it's built a good business for me because I'm helping other PIs succeed and they love my work. So it's a great industry we're in, Matthew. Don't you agree?
I do. I love, the folks that are in this industry and just the passion that the folks have to get better at what we're doing, right? That drive for education is something that's near and dear to me. And there are definitely a lot of folks that are out there and, with social media and with networking and having these forums and groups, you're meeting people like on Facebook, the private groups and things like that. You're meeting people across the country that have these same passions too, and being able to pick somebody's brain. I mean, I have friends now all over the country, investigator friends that I would have never had if I wasn't going out into these forums and introducing myself and striking up conversations and things like that, and just talking shop with people. So there's definitely some value to them.
Absolutely. I agree.
So tell me a little bit about the PI Magazine. You had written an article for them. What was that article about? And tell me a little bit.
Yes, sir. They did their special social media profile this year. Or was it late last year? I'm trying to remember this. Everything's going by so quick. But they asked me to write a specialized article on how to do email investigations. And so, the thing that I have said over and over and over, and I love for PIs to know this is so important, Matthew, when you're doing social media investigations. Emails are the golden ticket, the golden key to getting a person's profile, their social media footprint, because every profile is tied to an email. And so that's why I provided some of those tools online for free and teaching and training in that article on how to do a detailed email research to find your targets. Now, the article, of course, is limited. It doesn't include everything. There are several hundred tools. So it's and again, you mentioned this too, Matthew. There are different people in our industry who have expertise. And I do the same thing. If I need a forensics guy, I got a forensics guy who can take a cell phone and take it apart. That's not my area. Right. Other people are great out in the field doing surveillance, et cetera. So I think it's just great working together and providing those kind of tools. So that's why I did that article. In fact, they've asked me to write again. I just haven't had any time to get back to it. But it's a great magazine. I think it provides great stuff for the community of private investigators.
Yeah, I've got a strong relationship with those guys. I've done a lot of writing for them, and I do. I love doing it. I love writing. I love getting feedback. I love when people contact me on LinkedIn. I had somebody just today, from like Massachusetts. Like, I read this article. I'd like to pick your brain on something. Can you give me a call? And I will call those people 100% of the time. If somebody's taking their time to reach out to me, I will definitely return that phone call. And I love meeting people and just talking shop with them. So we're going to dig into the all the emails searching and some of the other open source stuff in just a little bit. But tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get into this business? And I guess since 2004 you've been doing it. So walk me through how you got there.
So, unfortunately, I went through a divorce about 10 years ago. And, my wife was acting funny, and I got her cell phone and found some phone numbers and some information. And I just started sleuthing around online myself. And actually, I found the guy who she was with. Right. Unfortunately, a sad situation. But it actually established a new career for me. Right. I thought, wow, I'm good at this, and I had no training, but I was just good. I love digging. I mean, that's why I love social media, because I keep digging and digging and digging. And I love that, finding the information, So that's how I got started in it. And it's been a good career for me, and kind of a second career for me. I think, I've done missionary work around the world. 41
countries, right?
Yes, sir. And
that's amazing.
So I still do that. Yeah. I'm hoping to build the business so big that I can, then I can just fund my own adventures around the world. But we'll get there eventually.
No, it's admirable, man, that you spend so much time doing that. I'm the guy who's always been working and hasn't really had a chance to do it. Now my children are young too, and I look forward to when they get older to start taking them on those missionary trips to do stuff. So it's you and I have talked offline about that stuff, and I admire it, man. I think it's really cool work that you've done. So, it's funny, there's always that, that question mark, like, how does a private investigator, how are they a Christian? Like, how does that work? And, and you summed it up perfectly in another program. You're like, it's a no-brainer. It's like we're searching for the truth. It's, we're not doing anything, shady or illegal. You're on this quest to find out why something happened or how it happened, and just answer questions, right?
That's it. I mean, the truth is the truth, whether it leans right or left, it's still the truth. So I have no conflict with it. I really enjoy what I do, and I feel like I'm providing a service that's not only for attorneys, but the PI community. And like you, I have that heart to help other people and teach other people. And so I find it thrilling to be involved in this industry.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? The truth is going to be correct 100% of the time. Yeah,
exactly.
100%. It'll always be there.
Right. Sometimes attorneys don't like that when they depose you, but that's another story for another time.
Another story for another day. Definitely.
Right.
Okay. All right. So we're going to jump out real quick for sponsors, and then we'll come back in and we'll start talking about your specialty and your investigative expertise. So sit tight, everyone. We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by DelvePoint. DelvePoint was founded by investigators with more than 70 years of combined service in the industry. From missing persons cases and custody disputes to insurance investigations and criminal cases, DelvePoint's billions of records from all 3 credit bureaus allows you to develop a complete profile of your subject. DelvePoint also has a new social media search that gives you access to over 200 million new records. Make sure you check out Matt's Quick Hit segment with Nikki McKinnell-Marla for some great free resources. And here's Michael's perspective on DelvePoint.
I really like DelvePoint. I use it as my first go-to investigative database on every case. I like their data. I like the fact how updated it is. And they offer a lot of different kinds of searches, which are very important to private investigators. In other words, everybody knows how to pull a deep background report, a comprehensive search. But then you've got to dig deeper and use their email tools, their social media tools. Also, they have a tool where you can look at associates of an individual. And that's how you can really get a comprehensive look at a person and give a report to your client that's going to be excellent. So DelvePoint just been great, and I have a great connection with that company in terms of their customer service. And I can't say, anything more highly than that. It's just a great company.
Go to DelvePoint.com for more and use code PIP20 for savings.
And welcome back, everybody, to PI Perspectives. We are here with Michael Morelli from Powerhouse Investigations in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Michael, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Matthew.
Right. So everybody's got their own take on open source investigations,
Right.
and they've got their own style of doing things. And one of the things that you had said, or just the theme, I guess, of one of the things you were talking about when I heard you last time was taking it further than the initial database search, right?
Yeah.
We all use the big five, or one of the big five, data research companies, whether it be DelvePoint or one Scope Now or one of the other ones, right? So,
Right.
So we all use those, but then using that as like a base point, as a jump off point to other research, and you have a really unique way of doing that. So can you walk me through how you approach doing research and trying to find answers on your cases?
Yes, Matthew. So you're exactly right. I mean, we have our databases, but they're limited. You can't find everything that you need. So let me give you a real world case that I actually just completed. I'll use different names because it's still in litigation, or it's going to litigation. But so we had this young man who was underage, who was drinking, who went to a bar at a party with employees, okay? And he presented an ID that was out of state and it was fake. So unfortunately, he went driving, he was drunk, and he hit a truck, and the young man's gone, lost his life. So his parents are suing the bar, the Dram Shop Act.
Right.
They're going for money from the bar. So the attorney hired me. I need to know everything about him. I want a full background. I want a full social media. And I want you to find a copy of that driver's license if you can. This needle in a 1,000 haystack. How am I going to find a copy of this driver's license, which they didn't have? So what I did is, of course, the typical tools, the background, et cetera, TLO, all that kind of stuff. I use DelvePoint a lot.
Right.
I like them.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan of DelvePoint.
Yeah, I like DelvePoint a lot. I use IDI Core, but I go to DelvePoint first. The info that I can get there. Then I start doing specific things. Again, I mentioned emails earlier, Matthew. So I took this young man's email. I'll just call him jr17@yahoo.com. I'm making that up, okay, because
right.
I want to protect it. So what I do is I take that email, I go to Google, and I do a Boolean or Boolean search. People call it different things. You put it in quotes. So here's where this expertise starts to come in. I think you mentioned I'm a board certified expert in cyber or social media investigations. And so these are some of the techniques I've learned. So you take this email, go to Google, and you put it in quotes. So now you're telling Google, I only want you to find every instance that you have of that email and nothing else. Now, sometimes it'll come back with no results, but you put it in quotes. Well, I found a bunch of results. The second thing you do is you take what we call the username portion of the email. So jr17 at yahoo.com. So you take jr17, put that in quotes, and run the same search on Google and see what that brings up. A lot of times, people use the same username or email address over and over. People are creatures of habit. So now that will sometimes lead to their Facebook page or their Pinterest or their Instagram. And I'm looking for this kid's post and I need to know about his lifestyle. So to sum this up, I mean, I'm sure you may have some other questions. There's a lot of research obviously involved.
Sure.
But what I was able to do when I did that reverse search or Boolean search on Google was I found a site called pholder.com. And pholder is something that captures Reddit. Reddit is a community, where people post all kinds of things. It's a social media community. Well, this particular site captures Reddit posts. And I found this post where they had a community where there were people talking about fake IDs. And guess what I found? I saw his California fake license. Now, his face was blacked out and other things. But there was enough information in there to let me know that this was my subject because I matched his signature from something else that I found and then presented all that information to the attorney. And later, actually, the police found his wallet and turned it over, and it's the exact driver's license.
Wow.
So you're not going to find a driver's license from a database like that, a fake ID. You can't. You have to use a lot of other tools to find that. So that was it was a lot of fun doing that investigation.
That is pretty amazing. And, I think folks don't realize that Reddit. Reddit is a place you need to go to do your research. But there's so much mining to be done in Reddit. Folks, if you're digging into social media research or you're digging into trying to do profiles, that is one of the go-to places that most folks don't look.
It really is. It's a great place because there's a lot of subreddits, and that's what this was, a subreddit about fake IDs, which Reddit actually later banned. So, but because of this pholder.com site, they kept captures of that. So I got to give a little shout out to the Hetherington group too, because when I was doing this, there's a little place I got stuck, and I sent some information to them, and they kind of gave me a little key that helped me get it unstuck, and then I got everything I needed. So again, it's back to what we said earlier, reaching out to other people. Yeah. And we all have expertise, but no one PI knows everything. It's impossible. It's just too much information. So we rely on one another. So that was a really cool case. And the client was very happy with it.
Yeah, shout out to Cynthia and to Rachel, right? Good stuff.
Great people.
Great people. Yeah, we love Cynthia. She's been very helpful to the communities. And just on a side note, folks, Cynthia Hetherington and Hetherington Group have put out some great webinars in this downtime. You definitely want to make sure you're taking advantage. She's making them available. If you're part of a state association or a national association, if you go onto any of the listservs, you can find the information on how to register for that. So just a side note on that. Okay, so Reddit. Let's talk about some of the other tools that you use to get your information.
Sure. So a couple of really great sources are one that's called leakedsource.ru. Leakedsource.ru. And you can put in various search terms like email, or you can search username, IP address, first and last name, phone number. And what this site does is it looks for breach data. And so a lot of times I can use a site like this that will give me, for example, it might say this email or username belongs to Instagram, MURL, Facebook, whatever. Now I know this person has a profile on these sites. And I might have to dig a little deep to find them, but now I know, hey, this guy's got 3 profiles. So leakedsource.ru is a great site. Another one people might be familiar with is called Have I Been Pwned, and it's haveibeenpwned.com, and it's spelled have I been, just like you would spell that, and then PWNED. And that's a place where you can put it in email, and it will. And again, it's looking for breached data. And remember, I've said the golden key is the email address. It's going to lead you to a person's identity online. Blog articles. I did a little search on an old email of mine and found what do you call that site? MySpace. I found a MySpace site that I put together 15 years ago.
Right.
Forgot all about it. Just using these tools.
I'm gonna leave my Tom joke out of it. I always throw the Tom joke in there when we talk about MySpace, but we'll leave Tom alone on this episode.
Okay. So that's another great site, and let me give you another one if you want.
Sure.
This one, it's called ghostproject.fr. Ghostproject.fr, and again, you can search an email and it will give you a breach data. So let me explain what breach data is so your listeners will understand if they don't.
Yep.
So there are people who have, unfortunately, hacked or used other methods to get data from websites. You remember when the big Ashley Madison breach happened?
Yep.
That's a that's a cheating website for partners to cheat, and everything was released: names, emails, addresses, phone numbers. Well, what happens is Google indexes this information, and then these websites go and collate that information. So we're not doing anything nefarious. We're not breaking any law. Anything that's on Google that is indexed is free game. There's no violation of any law to gather that intelligence. So those are a couple of great sites. And then again, for your listeners, there's a list of probably 30 sites that I put on my website. They're free. There's no cost or obligation. But if they go to powerhouseinvestigations.com/email, it'll pull up a list, and then you can just click on all these different tools, and you take your email, put it in the tool, and see what information it will reveal for you. So those are a couple of really great sources, and I'm always adding new ones to my site. So I encourage people to click back from time to time to look and see.
Yeah, we'll definitely put that link to your website, the Powerhouse PI website, on the show notes here, so folks can go directly into it. So why don't you give me an example of a case that you were surprised how it turned out? It didn't actually go the way you thought it was going to go.
Boy, I have one in mind. Okay, so I have to, again, I can't say who or what, but this is a celebrity who was accused of a crime with an underage young lady, and I was hired by another private investigator for the defense of this man, and he's a young man. In any case, I was hired to do social media investigations on this girl and her associates and friends who attend the events. Okay. Well, I was able to find where they posted this particular person who complained. I'm trying to be real careful with my words.
Yeah, no, be careful, man. Don't get yourself in trouble.
No. And the other individuals who were part of that little team, I was able to find posts on tons of social media where they posted wonderful, glowing things about this individual and saying all these nice things about her. And actually at the very time where they accused this person, celebrity, of a crime. However, it comes out later. I mean, I found, that report is, it's about 80 pages of, no, I'm looking at a different one. I'm sorry. It was probably 600, I think, pages on that particular report.
Oh, wow.
But in any case, I mean, it's very, very detailed and captured all their social media, all their connections, all their visits to these kinds of, VIP passes. They go to see these different celebrities. And, there are people that are stalkers out there. Anyway, the long story short is, it turned out, unfortunately, that this particular individual, this particular celebrity, did do some things that were not appropriate. I don't know how it all ended up in court or how it all transpired at the end in the legal process, but I was surprised to find that out because the posts I found were glowing and wonderful, and this person, lady's great, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. I guess, there's two sides to every story, and somewhere in between is the truth, right?
That's it. And that's up to juries to decide. I mean, again, I found evidence that showed positivity to protect this particular celebrity, but apparently other evidence was discovered later through other techniques that had nothing to do with me or social media that showed there was some kind of untoward misappropriation of whatever. So
right.
Yeah, that's a tough case.
So we're talking about juries here. So let's segue now into some jury research, because that's something that you offer to your clients. So tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
So what we do is jury profiles, and I'll give you an example of a case we just did. So the largest civil lawsuit, to my knowledge, in Oklahoma history, $200 million lawsuit. They were seeking damages. I was working for the defense. They hired me to do 190 jury profiles because we were able to get the jury profile the jury list rather, a week before they actually had to do voir dire, which is the process of interviewing the jurors, prospective jurors. So I was able to put these reports together, and they had several days. I mean, they got it to me as quickly as they could, but these reports will often include the age, the photographs, the employment, current positions, former positions, educational background, personal information, relationships, properties they lived at. For example, I'll have a photo of the property and the value of the property, because basically what I did is I worked with these attorneys and I showed them some samples, and they said, well, we want this and we want that and we want it in this order. And so we've regenerated these things to kind of created to be user-friendly for the attorney. It has social media, but it's not like a deep social media report that we typically do. This just will list, like if they've got LinkedIn or if there's some articles, and then you can just hyperlink right to it. And then there's a couple of areas where there's an emotional evaluation and the big five personality evaluation, which includes things like agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroverted, emotional range, sentiment, things of that nature. And it gives the attorneys, when they're looking at it, they want to know, is this person going to be agreeable? Is this person strong-willed? If they, what, and what's their, socioeconomic background, their educational background? Do they have a history of court problems? So these are very detailed reports. And in fact, it's not up on my website now, but it will be. PowerhouseInvestigations.com/sample. People can go and download a sample social media report, the graph report that comes with it, and then I'll have this up there tomorrow, probably, the sample juror report, so people can see it. So basically what we do is I make that available to other PIs and attorneys around the country, and we charge X amount of dollars. It's not much, like $50, $45, depends on how many we do. Right. And then the PI can upsell it for another 15 or $20 or whatever they want. And there's money to be made for everybody, like we talked about the pie. Yep. But this is great information. So basically, the attorneys took these reports, they sat down, they got a team of a couple of people, and they made decisions based on these reports. These are people we do not want in the jury pool. Right. And so they had that was their first list. Then they decided these are the people that we want. These are the kind of the undecided. So when they did voir dire, they were able to get the jurors that they wanted. And of course, they have to use their expertise at that point as well. But this is just another tool in an attorney's arsenal, and another tool that a PI can have to sell that attorneys like, because information is king. You know that. Yeah. And these reports, and you've seen it. It's very, very detailed, and photographs. I mean, it just really is an excellent product. And some of it, it's gathered through an IBM Watson analysis of social media and a lot of other data scrapers and et cetera, et cetera. So, but it's a great tool.
Yeah, I can say I've actually you've shown me some samples of some reports and stuff you've done, and it definitely it's legit. It's really it's good looking. There's a lot of really good information in there, and it's something that I've kind of delved into a bit on my own. It's a little bit hard in New York because they don't really give us that lead time to do the jury research. It's usually on the fly. So essentially, when we do it in New York here, we got about 15 names and about 10 or 15 minutes to go thumbs up or thumbs down on those names. So we have to really rush through and do things quickly. And then once the people are in the box, once they've been picked, then we do a bigger profile like that. Right. So do you have the ability to do quick research like that if need be, or is it typically you need the time to do it?
Yes. I mean, if you have 200 of them, it's going to take a day. We did it in 24 hours. That's 190 reports. I mean, we worked a lot of hours, but yeah, if it's at 15 or 20, we can do them very fast, because basically the algorithms, everything is set up. So I'm inputting name, address, phone number, whatever, and it's scraping this information, and it puts it into the report for me. It formats it. I mean, a lot of work went into making this happen. So everything is formatted, and bam, there it is. And it's a small report. You notice it's maybe 8 pages, maybe 10 pages, because when we interview the attorneys, they're like, we don't want a 40, 30 page, we don't want a 600 page social media report. Yeah, we want something we can snapshots. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Tell me one or two more stories here about your social media research and some different tools that you were able to use in a different way to locate and find some answers on people.
Sure. So I had another case on an individual who, it was very high profile, international espionage murder case of all things. In fact, this case, not my work, but this particular individual who did this there was a whole hour-long show on Frontline about him. And I can give you the name because it's all public data. You can search it online, and you might even know of the story. But the guy's name is Ali Alibara, or he goes by another name, Hamad. But in any case, what happened was this individual was educated here in the States, very, very intelligent young man working for Twitter. And he was performing espionage for the Saudi government and exposing profile information to them. So there was a particular individual who was a dissident and was writing, he's a reporter and was apparently a Saudi national, and was writing things that were anti, what they wanted to hear. And he was murdered. And so this guy's on the I think he's on the top 10 most wanted FBI list right now.
Wow.
So this was, from celebrity to espionage. And but I'm sorry, you asked me about tools. Okay. So again, I had to look at all his emails. I had to find his relationships. And that's a really important thing in social media investigations, not only when you're looking at, like, for example, Facebook and Twitter, and you want to look at their friends list. So I had to dig deep into their friends. One of the things I found which I thought really odd, and I'm kind of clicking through this report because I have it up on my computer, was a lot of these individuals are really highly educated in America, computer science majors. I mean, you got to be really good with math and have a lot of wits about you to do that. Anyway, they had their profiles, and then all of a sudden you see a lot of his friends, and then they all stop around the same time posting on social media. So, but what I was able to do was collate a list of a lot of his friends and find their information and put that together for the team that the attorneys that hired me that were investigating this case. Now, I honestly don't know how it was all used. I don't know how they used my information. I just provided the information, and but there are a lot of different kind of these different tools based on the email. And then there's another really good tool that I want to give you. It's illmob.org. So that's illmob.org/bookmark.html. And maybe you can put this up on the notes of the show when you're ready.
Yeah, great.
So illmob.org/bookmark.html. And it allows you to do phone lookups, IP lookups, host lookups, email, social network, name. And what happens is when you put the name or the license plate or whatever you're looking for into it, it'll open up about 10 or 15 different pages and search that information for you. It's kind of like Michael Basil's tools that are not available anymore.
Right.
I think a lot of people know about him. I think I was the last student to get into his training last year because he shut it down and his tools are not available. I have use of his tools for lifetime because I paid and took the training. So that's a whole nother set of tools that I use, but they're not available to the public.
Right.
You have to be able to log in and all that. But anyway, somebody created this site, and it has the basic idea of Michael Basil's tools, where you put an email in and it'll open up 10 different pages. In fact, that's the tool I just used before I called you and I found my old what did I call that thing again? I keep forgetting. No, MySpace.
Oh, right.
I found an old MySpace page I forgot all about. So that was one of the tools I used along with his tools in that investigation. Yeah,
that's great. I thought you were going to say, like, I did a whole profile on you, and by the way, I was just waiting for that one.
Oh, no.
Thanks for not doing that.
No, it hadn't crossed my mind. I hadn't had time to even think about that.
Slow your roll, pal. I know you got your computer on. Relax. Okay, so let's back up just for a minute. So let's say I'm a new investigator, just got into this field. Maybe I'm hired and I'm working for somebody, and I'm trying to get my feet wet here. How would you suggest, like, the rookie? It's so intimidating. You hear open source. Like, how do I start doing all this stuff? Like, walk somebody through, like, where you should start looking for things, and the first place is to start to learn how to do all this stuff.
Great idea. Great question. So what I first would recommend is find mentors. We talked about that. It's so important. Reach out to people and ask for help. Ask them to teach you. Ask them questions. Nothing wrong with that. That's the first thing. The second thing I would do is go on YouTube and type in OSINT, OSINT, Open Source Intelligence, and type in OSINT 2020. And there's a reason I'm telling people to do that, because you don't want to look at an OSINT video, open source intelligence video, that's 3 or 5 years old, because the techniques don't work anymore.
Right.
The techniques are always changing. So find relevant videos on YouTube and start learning how to do open source intelligence. I've done a lot of that. I continue to do it all the time, because there's new tools that, like I said, there's not one person that knows everything. So, and tools are constantly changing. One day they're here, the next day they're not.
It's true.
So I would highly recommend people go to YouTube, and it's free. You mentioned Hetherington. She has a lot of free videos that you can find online. Great stuff. I mean, she's just phenomenal in this industry.
Right.
I would highly recommend a new person to get Michael Basil's Intel Techniques book. I think it's maybe $60 or $50. I could be wrong. And really scour through that book and practice those tools and practice those techniques, because he's one of the top people. Michael Basil and Hetherington, I think, are probably two of the greatest experts in this industry.
Right.
So those are places I would suggest that people go.
Okay, great. So we're going to wind things down here. Michael, I appreciate your time here. This has all been really, really fantastic.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So how do folks get a hold of you?
So they can go to my website, powerhouseinvestigations.com. They can email me, michael@powerhouseinvestigations.com, or my cell phone is 918-645-4024, 918-645-4024. And I'll be happy to help people, or if they need expert social media work done, I can do that for them, or jury reports or training. I'm happy to do it.
Great. Okay. All right, man. So I appreciate your time tonight, and I appreciate everybody tuning in to listen here. This was really, really great. In my opinion, I don't think you can ever talk about open source enough. And it's so great to have different people's, take on how they do this stuff. So thanks for taking the time tonight, Michael. And again, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll catch you on the next show. Take care.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Michael had some great stories about how his research went above and beyond what was expected. Contact Michael to learn more about his social media research and jury research. These are services you can offer to your clients through Powerhouse Investigations. We also want to thank CROSStrax, DelvePoint, and The Investigator's Toolbox for sponsoring the show. Please, folks, check out their sites and consider using their services. Make sure to use code PIP20 for additional savings. Next week, Matt welcomes Stephen Komerick from Conflict International to discuss human lie detection. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notifications on Matt's quick hit segments, because these segments will give industry updates on COVID shutdowns and issues. Now have a great week, stay safe, and thanks for tuning into PI Perspectives.